So today we're going to dive into the universal law of habit. It's number 48 of a 52-part series, recognizing that there's only one universal law. It's a law of cause and effect, but we have 52 distinctions. So all year long, we go over universal law to make sure we're in right mind and living on spiritual principle. So this one is powerful because your habits are the invisible architecture of your identity, right? Your destiny and your spiritual embodiment. So if you're anything like me, you may have found yourself moving through stretches of life feeling repetitive, almost like spiritual Groundhog's Day, right? Patterns repeat, emotions cycle, routines become automatic. And even if it looks good from the outside, something inside begins to whisper for expansion, growth, and newness. That inner whisper is your higher self calling you into a new identity. Okay. The universal law of habit teaches us that we are always creating through repetition. Repetition is not just a physical action, it is repeated thought, repeated emotion, and the repeated belief. What you energize consistently becomes impressed upon the subconscious mind. And once it becomes impressed, it becomes automatic. The subconscious takes over, and suddenly you're operating through patterns you did not consciously choose, right? We've all done that. And this is why the saying is God rested on the seventh day, because whatever we create becomes automated and we can just rest. We don't have to remember how to beat the heart. It just beats because we've been doing it for, a very, very, very long time to put it into the automated subconscious and super consciousness. So let's break this down in a simple but profound way. Your identity creates your habits. Every belief becomes a thought. Every thought energized becomes a feeling. Every state of being repeated becomes a habit. And every habit repeated becomes your destiny. This is why understanding universal law is so important. Universal law is the manual for the vehicle you use to navigate this lifetime, right? We incarnate in these bodies in this life without really any training on how the consciousness works, how the law works, how subconscious works, or how reality is actually created. Yet we are manifesting 24/7 through the blink of consciousness, through every identity we hold, and through every pattern we repeat. So let's talk about how habits actually form. Most of you know the famous study by Pavlov and the dogs. Pavlov was not studying habits, he was researching digestion. Yet he discovered something incredible. Each time the dogs were fed, they salivated. Eventually, they began salivating before the food even arrived. When he paired the bell with the food enough times, the bell alone created the same reaction, no food required. The dogs had created an automatic pattern through repetition. Their bodies learned to respond without conscious thought. That's the power of habit. And humans are far more associative, far more emotional, and far more programmable than dogs. Another metaphor is a child learning how to walk. When my son was 1 year old, the amount of energy it took for him to take the first step was extraordinary. He had to balance, coordinate, stabilize, and focus all of his awareness. But through repetition, these movements became ingrained, right? They became effortless. Eventually, he was running without thinking. Okay. This is the subconscious mind. This is your nervous system. This is the miracle of habitual intelligence built into every cell of your being. Let's take a look at the timeline to form habits. Okay. Many of us grew up knowing and hearing about the 21 days to build a new habit. This came from Dr. Maxwell Maltz in 1960 in Psycho-Cybernetics. He observed that the patients tended to adjust to physical changes in about 21 days. But that observation was never meant to be a universal law. Okay. Over time, millions of books repeated it, and it became accepted fact in the collective. But scientific research shows a different picture. Okay. Studies reveal that forming a new habit can take anywhere from 18 days to 224 days with an average of 66 days. Okay. But here's what spiritually, it's different. Okay. Spiritually, we teach that it's the power of decision. Okay. We decide and then everything changes. We may have a law of growth and it may make time to build that new habit, but when we make it the decision is when actual change happens, when the new habit forms. The consciousness backing of it is what creates the habit itself. But we have to also back it up with the habit. A good example of this is in E4 method when people are doing deep regressions and they have these revelations and they make new declarations. We always say you need to back it up now with the daily spiritual practice to embody that new declaration. Okay. So this law today, the universal of habit, is looking at really consciously choosing your habits, but also knowing that if you're not able to maintain that habit, it's because the decision has not been made behind it, right? So when you make a decision at the level of identity, right? I am all knowing, all powerful versus I am a victim, right? When you make the decision level at identity level, when you declare something into your subconscious mind with full conviction, right? The pattern is created. The law responds. The demonstration begins. Whether the physical habit takes 18 days or 224, right? It depends on your nervous system, depends on your environment, it depends on the consistency. But the energetic pattern is created the moment you decide. So, why is this universal law? Because creation moves through a consistent, predictable order. Consciousness creates from nothing, repetition imprints that creation into the subconscious mind. Identity forms, identity becomes emotions, emotions become behavior, behavior becomes the habit. Okay. Habit becomes a karmic imprint upon the one divine mind. Your karma is not punishment, it is simply the accumulation of repetitive choices and habits that you've made. This brings us to a deeper side of habit. Good habits empower, and unconscious habits disempower. Okay. There's actually, the truth is, there's nothing unconscious in the world. Okay. But the subconscious habits that are not consciously chosen disempower us. There's so many of us, we have negative patterns in our life, and we have to build new habits, but they have to first be done through the power of decision. So both are created the same way, the disempowering habits and the empowering habits. They're both created through consciousness. Okay. So I want to share a different thing that really helps me break habits sometimes. During the past season of my life, when I didn't have the same level of spontaneity, travel, or pattern interrupts I was accustomed to, I found myself slipping into repetitive patterns. Okay. At first, they were neutral, but slowly felt the spiritual version of Groundhog's Day, right? Creatively, I felt a little duller and my mornings were less expansive. I was going to the same things over and over again without freshness, inspiration, or aliveness that comes from balancing routine and spontaneity. So, habits are not bad, structure is not bad, but when you live in the familiar, the soul begins to starve. We are here designed for having discipline, but also having new creations. Okay. So I started interrupting my patterns. I took a day to Santa Barbara. I slumber parted with girlfriends. I walked in new neighborhoods. And I actually now have actually moved over to Florida. Right. So big pattern interrupts. Right. I shifted my environment enough to activate creativity and curiosity again. Okay. Because here is a core spiritual truth. Your environment activates your habits. Your environment cues your subconscious. Your environment triggers your identity. So just like Pavlov's bell, your environment signals your mind to repeat whatever patterns exist within the space. Okay. If your home cues you to zone out, you'll zone out. If your kitchen cues you to overeat, you will overeat. Okay. If your workspace cues you into creativity, you'll create, right? So we have to know that we choose our environment, and pattern interrupts are very important to be able to build new habits and not get, because some of your great habits might turn into bad habits over time if you just get dull. Okay. When you want to change your habits, you must change your environment or change how you show up within them. So let's talk about replacing habits. You cannot remove a habit through resistance. Okay. Like we know diets don't work. They've proven. We have had diets in our culture, and our culture has gotten more and more obese. Okay. So it's really overriding that pattern. Okay. So if someone watches TV every night and they decide to not watch TV, it rarely works. Okay. The mind does not respond to don't. Instead, what we want to do is insert something new. Call a friend, go on a walk, journal, right? Choose something that nourishes you over the old pattern, right? We know that a lot of people that lose weight, it's not because they're dieting, it's because they put in a new activity, or they put in a new, creating art or something like that, right? They start to redirect their energetics. Okay. So you replace, you reroute, you rewire. So ask yourself, what habits do you want to create in the next 90 days? Who do you want to become automatically? What patterns do you want to so deeply embody that you no longer have to think about them, right? So take a breath with me. In through the nose and exhaling out. Whatever you desire is not random. It is your destiny seeking expression. Every repeated thought becomes your future. Every repeated action becomes your identity. Every repeated emotion pattern becomes your energetic signature. If you repeatedly affirm limitation, limitation is your norm. If you repeatedly energize possibility, possibility becomes your embodiment. Everything matters. Every moment counts. Every pattern is forming your fate. So today I invite to disrupt and interrupt your patterns. Get out of your environment. Even for a few hours, go somewhere new. Walk somewhere unfamiliar. Do something that shakes up the subconscious cues. Give your subconscious a fresh place to create from. Then choose the habits you want to become automatic. Choose the identity you desire. Choose the future you're ready to embody. Choose both you and the creator as one. You are both the cause and the effect. You are both the new thought and the karmic imprint. And when these meet, something extraordinary is born, a new version of you. And as we align to universal law, we set ourselves free. So today, I invite you to embody the universal law of habit. Begin each morning by waking up in truth. Before the mind runs to yesterday or the future or the to-do list, pause, breathe, direct your consciousness. Do a spiritual mind treatment and remember who you are. Set your intention for the day. Choose the state you're committed to living from. Focus on what you desire to create, not on what you are resisting. The universe mirrors your most dominant feeling tone. So choose it consciously, okay? In relationships, embody this law by choosing habits of love. Stop making people wrong. Stop rehearsing old patterns. Instead, celebrate what's working. Nurture what's growing. Build upon the qualities you desire to experience. Every interaction becomes a sacred opportunity to elevate the field, to bring compassion, to speak your truth with grace, to create harmony instead of friction, okay? In health and vitality, in your body temple, practice habits that purify and fuel your vitality. Nourish yourself with what is alive. Hydrate, move, breathe, honor the intelligence with every cell. Release the habits that sabotage your energy and choose habits that expand your life force. Your body is the instrument through which your purpose expresses, so align with your truth daily. In money and finances, embody the law through habits of service and value. Do not wait, do not shrink, do not play victim. Create, innovate, and give, serve. Show up with excellence. Begin and bring solutions. Prosperity flows where habits go, not wishful thinking. So today, choose one habit in the 4 areas of life and commit to it fully. This means in money and career, in health and vitality, relationships and love, and in your purpose and calling. And so remember that repetition with intention becomes embodiment, and embodiment becomes your destiny. Okay. Have a beautiful day, and may you live your truth.